Today, I want to shed some light on a wonderful, exciting little prospect. Atalanta Bergamo's 19-year-old centre-back, Giorgio Scalvini, a wonderful little player that I believe Manchester United should look to sign as soon as possible. And here is why. Giorgio Scalvini dwarfs everyone around him. Despite standing at 194 centimeters tall, he's not a player who relies on his height in order to get advantage over his opponents. In fact, he's one of the most skillful and elegant players I have ever seen, at least within his age bracket. He reminds me a lot of Alessandro Nesta. Basically a player who does not really rely on physicality to win the ball back, but rather relies on anticipation and the way he positions his body, and more importantly, on the timing of his tackles. This is great for Scalvini. First of all, it benefits his team. Why? Because he wins the ball cleanly, which means that he does not give the opposition the upper hand by giving them unnecessary free kicks, for example, or getting yellow cards or red cards, right? But also he benefits himself because by being an elegant defender, someone who gets the ball in a way that is very clean, means that he has a very low risk of injury. He's not injury prone. Someone like Erik, for example, who is notorious for being reckless with the way he tackles, he gets a lot of impact injuries because of that. But Scalvini is a defender that, to me, even though he's just 19 years old, looks like he's very smart in how he approaches the art of defending, but also players with this kind of technique when it comes to tackling, when it comes to winning the ball back, usually have a long longevity in the game because they don't really rely as much on physicality. Now, the other great thing about Giorgio Scalvini is that he plays as a left-sided centre-back within Atlanta's system. They play a back three and he's their left-sided centre-back. And this has been great for his development as a defender because by playing in that position, he's relied upon by his teammates to be a key outlet for them to get the ball out. That means that he needs to dribble and pass the ball in a progressive manner in order for them to build up play from the back. But also it has increased his composure because he needs to help the team beat the press. And that's something that Atalanta does very well. And one of the main reasons for that is, of course, Giorgio Scalvini. So he's definitely acquiring all of the attributes that a modern defender, a modern center-back should have, i.e. being a great defender, but also being good with the ball, being a good ball player. And Scalvini definitely is a perfect mixture between being a good ball winner and being a good ball player. And that's the kind of defender that every top team wants to have in their ranks. Now, why should Manchester United sign Giorgio Scalvini? Well, not only because he's a talented player and he's a young player, but also because his contract expires in 2023 in the summer. That means that in January, any club could actually sign a pre-agreement with him. Now, this is tricky because he's such a high valuable prospect that Atalanta are trying to actually extend his contract by including a release clause in his contract, somewhere around 25 or 30 million pounds. Basically, we don't want to lose you for nothing. We need to get a little fee for you. So basically sign a contract extension, but it's just a formality. Any club who pays your release clause can have you. But if a big club like Manchester United comes in January and shows real intent and a plan to introduce Giorgio Scalvini into the Manchester United setup, I believe we can have him. And we definitely should. When you look at the Manchester United Academy, over the past few years, we have developed some good forwards and wingers and midfielders. But who was the last centre-back that you can think of that we have developed and who played for the Manchester United first team? The last one I can think of is Jonny Evans. I may be wrong, but that's the first player that comes to my mind. And Jonny Evans right now at Leicester, he's a veteran. I think he's 34, 35 years old, right? So our academy is not very good at developing young center backs. And currently in our first team, most of our center backs are 26 years old and older. And that's not good from a squad building, from a squad management point of view. This is not good. In a team that plays a back four, like Manchester United, you need 4 center backs. 2 of them should be your elite center backs. In our case, Rafael Varane and Lisandro Martinez. They are your first name on the team sheet. Then you have 1 first team squad / rotation center back. That means that we should keep either Victor Lindelof or Harry Maguire. And then the 4th center back, ideally, should be a teenager or a player who is in his early 20s. Someone who doesn't expect to start, but who's good enough to start. And someone who's just biding his time before, in 2 or 3 years, he becomes a starter at Manchester United. And currently, in Manchester United, we do not have a player in that age bracket, the Giorgio Scalvini age bracket. This is why I believe that in this summer, we need to sign Giorgio Scalvini as fast as possible, and then in the summer, sell either Victor Lindelof or Harry Maguire. If you ask me, I think Harry Maguire is the one we're going to keep, mainly because of practical reasons, not necessarily because he's the better player. But then you could have Lisandro Martinez, Rafael Varane as your main centre-backs, Harry Maguire as a covering centre-back, and then Giorgio Scalvini as the youngster who's learning his trade and playing in, cup games and in games, let's say, for example, at home against Nottingham Forest, for example. But we definitely need a player like this. Every team needs young blood. And currently, the Manchester United defense, the centre-back area, the centre-back position does not have young, talented players. And this is why we need to get Giorgio Scalvini ASAP. Currently, Atletico Madrid, Inter Milan, and Manchester City are the front runners. Why aren't Manchester United in for this player? I don't get it. A free transfer. A 19-year-old, highly exciting prospect in a position where we don't have any young players coming through. This is a no-brainer. And I really hope that Manchester United are working on a deal for Giorgio Scalvini, because if they are not, I don't know what to say. Cheers.